Welcome to Conversations, Lehman College's new series of discussions with major theater artists of our times. For the second of a two-part chat, our guest today is the great Broadway concert and cabaret singer Barbara Cook. In our last talk, we covered your days on Broadway and your childhood in Georgia and how you came to be a singer and how you got to Broadway. I would like to focus more closely in the second part on the art of your singing. But before we get there, I have a question. You have to clarify this for me.
Okay.
The other night, I got to bed very late. I fell asleep with the TV set on, and about, I think it was 4 o'clock in the morning, Twilight Zone was playing, and there you were. Am I hallucinating?
Well, partly. It wasn't Twilight Zone. It was a Hitchcock. I did one of the Hitchcock ones. Yeah, that series.
And
I think if you're talking about seeing me.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was definitely you. And it was too late for me to make a note to myself. And I said in the morning, and I couldn't, my TV, the cable thing wasn't working, so I couldn't figure out who it was or what it was. And I've been meaning to ask you. So it was you. How was it working with Alfred Hitchcock?
Well, he didn't do the series.
Oh, he didn't?
No. Actually, I was directed by Paul Henreid, though.
Oh.
Who was
that's almost as good.
Wonderful, delightful man to work with.
And you like this?
Yeah, I had never done that before, and I don't think I did it terribly well. I'm sorry I didn't have a chance to practice more. I have been asked to do a lot of stuff in front of the camera.
Okay. I wanted to ask you, and what, in your opinion, makes a perfect song?
Oh Lord!
You address that on your Sondheim.
I guess when the music works and the words work and they all go together, I guess that's a perfect song. I don't know. It's hard to say. Some songs seem not even to have been written. They seem to just have dropped down whole on somebody. A song like "Oh, What a Beautiful Morning." I mean, it's just sort of there. It seems so inevitable, so right. You can't imagine, and maybe he didn't even struggle with it. Certainly doesn't seem as if there was any kind of struggle writing that, does it?
No, it feels like breathing.
Yeah.
How do you choose a song to sing?
Well,
what's your process?
Sometimes I'm seduced by the melody. Sometimes by the words. I'll hear a phrase and I think, oh, I'd like to say that, you know. And then, particularly with melody, I can be seduced by a beautiful melody, but then when I investigate the text, sometimes I think I don't really want to say that. I don't want to stand behind that. Because, you know, when I'm out there, I'm me.
Right.
I'm not singing as a character anymore. These are songs that I've chosen to do. Nobody beat me over the head to do these songs. So I'm kind of signing my name, you know, when I choose these songs. Do you see what I mean?
Yes. Now suppose
and I take it seriously.
What you're going to prepare for a new concert, let's say. How do you go about choosing what you're going to sing?
Well, first of all, we hope we can find some sort of theme, some idea that pulls it all together. Wally's idea of doing Stephen Sondheim songs with songs that he wishes he had written was a brilliant idea. It's been by far the most successful thing we've done in 30 years. People keep asking for it. You know, some people say, somebody sent me something from the net. Somebody said, well, yeah, it's beautiful. I wish you'd sing something else. And I understand that, because I feel that way about artists sometimes. But people keep it alive. People, presenters, they want that show, do you know?
You went to Stephen Sondheim and said, what songs do you wish?
No. Stephen didn't have anything to do with putting this together, except that when he had his 70th birthday, Frank Rich did a long interview with him for the Sunday New York Times magazine section. And in that interview, there were listed 50 songs.
Okay.
But that came about because one of the celebratory, yeah, I got that out, one of the celebratory events of his birthday year was a big concert at in Washington, D.C. at the Library of Congress. And it was his idea to have the music that night be by other people, songs that he wishes he had written. So he gave them a huge, long list. And we chose songs from that list, of course, mostly his stuff.
Right.
It's called Mostly Sondheim.
Right.
But a lot of songs that he wishes he'd written, some of which are utterly surprising. Waiting for the Robert E. Lee. It's a terrific song, but would you have ever thought? And,
No.
and how about Hard-Hearted Hannah? It's a great song, but you wouldn't think
You don't
Stephen would have
associate
wanted
them.
to write it, you know?
And somehow I found it, some of the choices on the album, I was surprised that he loved them and that you were singing them both.
Well,
Like
yeah.
Hard-Hearted Hannah.
Well, yeah, I'm a soprano. I'm kind of surprised I did it as well as I did. You know, it's the last kind of thing I would ever think I would do.
It worked beautifully.
Oh, I thought
It
so.
was so much fun.
It is fun.
Now, when you're going to do a new concert, you and Wally are going to talk about a theme. Is that how it goes?
Well, we try to come up with an idea. These themes came out of working at the Cafe Carlyle for so many years.
Right.
And
For our
you know, we
audience,
have-
the Cafe Carlyle is a wonderful hotel in town that has a great cafe, and Barbara's the star there.
I think it's the best cabaret room in the country
That's right.
myself. So, you know, we have to think about the press. We have to help the press with these things. And after a while, Barbara Cook singing at the Cafe Carlyle is not any kind of particular news. She's back again. So that you have to come up with some hook for the press to write about. So Barbara Cook doing all songs by Oscar Hammerstein or songs from shows that Hal Prince directed, that kind of thing.
Right.
You know, so we have to come up with ideas.
Have you ever yourself written a lyric or some music?
No, I have trouble writing a postcard. How, you know,
You've
people,
never been tempted?
Well, no, not about a song, no. I am tempted now to write my memoirs. I've been asked for a number of years now, and I have certainly not an offer yet, but some interest from a really good publishing house, so I think I'm stupid if I don't give it a shot. And also, I would like to do it myself, because I think these books generally are more interesting, or they can be more interesting when they're written by the person. Doesn't mean you don't have help, of course. Writers
Right.
always have help. But I think I'd like to do that first big thrust, only I keep not getting at it. As a writer, I think you probably know what I mean. I don't know, are you one of those writers that writes every day?
Yeah, pretty much.
Oh, you see, that's why I haven't done it.
But every day I vow not to write every day. Every day it's a struggle. Occasionally, every so often, I have a rush where it's a pleasure, but it's
You
usually
just want to get it out, yeah.
my inspiration is the line, "That's why they call it work," and so I understand entirely. What would you say are your influences as a singer? What influences?
Well,
you?
Mabel Mercer.
Ah.
Your audience might not know Mabel Mercer. She was a chanteuse, I suppose you would say.
Right.
She sang in clubs in New York for many, many years, had a very, very big following. And I came into New York in 1948, and in 1950, somebody took me to see her, and she had an enormous effect on my work. Enormous, more than anybody.
Well, can you?
Frank Sinatra says the same thing. He said he learned more from Mabel Mercer than anybody, with the exception, possibly, of Mozart. She broke a lot of rules.
Like what?
Well, voice teachers rather, will tell you, and I'm sure they're right, that when you sing, you need to sing on the vowels and get off the consonants as fast as you can, because it stops the sound. You know, so in order to have a fluid kind of flowing thing, you want to get off the consonants. But if it's appropriate and if it's used tastefully, those consonants can convey emotion in a way that just pronouncing the word and getting off of those consonants can't do. For instance, she used to sing a song called "Remind Me" by Cole Porter, and she would do "Remind me not to find you so attractive." That's so different from "Remind me not to find you so attractive." and when your charms begin to blind me, I'll simply tie my hands behind me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I was fascinated by that. Fascinated. And Garland was the other person who influenced my work, yes. In that sense, the way she structured a song, I became for the first, because I never really studied that kind of thing. I studied technique for a long time, but I never studied with coach. And I began to see how her songs were structured with the beginning, middle, and an end that you have to pay attention to. The large arc, the big arc of a song.
Were you friendly with her or with?
I was with her
Garland?
several times socially, but certainly not friendly. No.
Okay.
She used to sing at a little club. When she was at the Palace,
Right.
she'd still want to sing some nights. There was a little club, a little private club called the Gold Key Club, and I knew the pianist there. So whenever she was there, he'd call me, "Come, Judy's in." So I lived nearby, and I would rush down and just sit and listen to her sing for herself. It was great.
I wonder if there are any recordings of that. Wouldn't that be something?
I doubt it. You know, we didn't have equipment like
That's
that
right.
then.
That's
I would
right.
have been recording it otherwise, believe me. In my little digital MD recorder.
What kind of music do you listen to these days?
Well, I listen to a lot of opera. I love opera, and I've always loved classical music. I'm not inclined to listen to contemporary singers or to musical theater because, well, if I do, I can't work and do it. It's like I just have to, you know, I can put other stuff on and do my work and get things done.
Right.
But I don't know. I just
Your son Adam LeGrand told me last night. I pumped him for some information. He said that you go around the world these days listening to opera singers.
Well, that's true. Yes, that's true.
Which ones are your favorite?
Well,
You mentioned Renee Fleming.
yes, Renee certainly, and Cecilia Bartoli,
Uh-huh.
and Jose Cura. He's disappointed me a little bit lately, but Jose, I've traveled all over to see him, to hear him.
I find that fascinating that you like
Well,
opera
I've
singing.
always loved opera.
Right.
Since I was 8 or 9, 10 years old, I used to listen to the Saturday afternoon broadcasts. And then when I came to New York, I didn't go to much opera because I didn't have a hell of a lot of money. And, in order to start a career, you need to be so self-involved. There just isn't time, because if you're not thinking about it 24 hours a day, you're going to be beat up by the other guy who's thinking about it 48 hours a day. So it's the concentration and it really takes up a lot of your time and thinking, and so I sort of let opera slide there.
Now you mentioned there are two people that I know that you admire, Renee Fleming, and you're also working these days with another a singer that I've worked with, Marilyn Horne.
Marilyn Horne, yes. We've done some concerts together lately, just recently.
And what kind of concerts? What are they like?
Well, Marilyn doesn't sing arias anymore, so she sings Gershwin and Jerome Kern and Cole Porter, and I do my things that I sing, and then we have 3 or 4 songs we do together.
Well, that must be just.
The audience seems to like it. We have fun with each other.
Are you planning to put out an album together?
Nope. We hadn't planned that at all.
Oh,
That
I would love to hear that. I would travel to hear that.
Well, we've just finished
two of my favorite singers.
Right now, we don't have plans for another. I'm sure we'll do something else, but I don't know what it would be.
Here's a loaded question. Where do you think musical theater is going in America?
Lordy Lord, I don't know.
Isn't that a terrible question?
No, I don't know. People ask that.
Where do you think it should go?
Well, it's so hard to say. I think people really, really like shows and stories when you can care about the people on stage, instead of caring about the helicopter, the special effects, which can be fascinating and all of that. But I think they really want the lovers to get together and walk off hand in hand and live happily ever after, all that kind of stuff, don't you? It's kind of old-fashioned, but I mean, if a revival of those shows is done well, and clearly people go to see them and love them, so, we have this whole body of stuff. I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen with musical theater. I can't believe we won't have it. I just think there'll always be people who want to go into a room somewhere and see live people singing and acting. Look, the idea of people bursting into song when they should be speaking really throws some people for a loop. They can't stand the idea. But I think, most people, I shouldn't say most, a lot of people still enjoy it and will. It's like people are always talking about theater dying out. I can't believe that television or whatever may come after television will supplant being there, that moment, being present for it that second. There's nothing like it.
Right, real time.
Yeah, I mean, you got to be there. Now, maybe we'll be able to invent being there in some canned way. We can look at what we've already done. Maybe that'll happen too. I don't know.
Well, robots standing in for us will watch other robots, perhaps. John Criano and I are working on a new piece, and we ponder the question. We've written an opera together, The Ghosts of Versailles, and our new piece, we decided, no, we're not going to do it. We don't know what form we're writing in. What do you think is the difference between? Is there a difference between opera and a musical? If there is,
well, of course, operas are sung through. But I think
some musicals are now.
Well, yeah, but that's a recent event, and I think again it's because writers found it difficult to come up with stories whereby it made sense for people to break into song. Dreamgirls is one of those. Do you know they're playing singers, so it's okay. The Act was one when it makes sense to break into song, but I think a large part of the audience became annoyed with the idea. In fact, I was going to a matinee one day, walking behind two couples, and they were deciding what to see that afternoon. And one of the men said, I don't want to see a musical. I like when they talk, they should talk. When they sing, they should sing. He didn't like the mixture, do you know? Mm-hmm. And I don't know why that came about, why people were not willing to set aside that, idea that they needed to believe more. I don't know. Maybe it's television, films, I have no idea. But we went through and still are in a time when I think people are less likely to accept people doing dialogue and then singing. So Andrew Lloyd Webber came up with this idea through singing. So then you don't speak, then there's no problem. Everything is sung.
He's doing what amounts to opera.
Well, if that's how you define it, yeah.
I'm wondering if John said it as kind of a joke. He said the only difference, as far as he can tell, between opera and a musical is amplification.
Well, maybe.
And I'm wondering if there isn't an element of...
They sing higher in opera.
They sing higher.
Yeah. They sing high.
They work.
And they sing low.
That's right. And they sing fewer times per week in opera.
Well, for good reason.
Because they couldn't keep it up.
Well, I mean, it's difficult stuff, my Lord.
When they did La Boheme on Broadway, they quadruple casted it.
3 casts?
Triple casted it.
Was it?
Barbara, I'm wondering if you have any suggestions for new singers.
Oh, I have a lot of suggestions, yeah. But, I don't think we have time for all my suggestions.
May I have one or two of your suggestions? What would you do if you were a new singer?
Well, now, which question do you want me to answer? if I'm the person telling them what I think they ought to do, or am I the singer? See what I mean? You asked me two questions. The answer to the first question
Yes.
is to be present and to understand that you're enough, and to understand that very often what you think you ought to be doing is getting in the way, instead of just doing it and being there and experiencing it and letting us in. So, and if I were a beginning singer now,
Yes.
I'd listen to me. How's that for ego?
I gather that this has been hard-won wisdom.
Well, I don't know how hard one it was.
Uh-huh.
You know, I do master classes a lot
Yes.
all over the world now, and it's something that comes very easily to me. I love telling people what to do, don't we all? But I think I've been able to help a lot of people, and that's very gratifying. I enjoy doing them a lot.
What kind of singers do you most like to work with? What turns you on as a teacher?
I think singers who are open to suggestion, who don't kind of fight me. That doesn't happen very often. And it's amazing how somebody can change so much their approach to something within 5 minutes. It's astounding to me. And I'm constantly amazed that these young singers are so often so willing to set aside their security blankets, these things that make them feel comfortable that actually often get in the way of the work. And they're willing to set them aside and try to do it another way when I ask them to. And it is amazing. You know, somebody can come out and they're just like a stick. They're like a board. And it's if they're not alive at all. And then we work a little bit, and in effect, I think what I do, this sounds really grand, but I think what I do is very often give them permission to do what they already know how to do. But what has gotten in the way is that they feel they should do this or that or the other. They're doing what they think they should do rather than what is right there. They don't trust the fact that they're enough.
Where does that come from? This barrier that they're doing something. Do you know?
Well, I mean, don't we grow up saying, "Don't do that, don't do this, don't do that"? We hear don'ts, don'ts, don'ts. You know, and you know, parents who sometimes say, "Oh, you crazy? You think you can sing?" You know, not everybody has supportive parents, and you know, the world kind of beats us down sometimes. And also, when you don't have a lot of experience, it's quite common to learn from people who have been doing it. You know, right now you'll see young artists going to the Metropolitan and copying Raphael. You know what I mean? Which is okay, but then there comes a point where you need to do your stuff, because that's what we always want to see. What we always want to see is the authentic person. And you might not be aware of it, but the moment you see it, boy, you know it, because you know it right there or there.
Barbara, do you have a desire, or would you consider doing a new show?
Yeah, I would consider it. I think I have enough energy to still do that. It's I think it's difficult though because of my size and because of my size that I think doesn't go with my sensibilities too well. So if somebody, you know what I really would like to do?
What's that?
This is an old-fashioned idea. This is not one of these new layered musicals. It's Come Back Little Sheba, I think would make a wonderful musical. And I think somebody did attempt that at some point, and it didn't work, maybe 20 years ago or so. But I think I could play that role in a well-written musical.
Wonderful play.
Yeah.
I've heard of an
that kind
opera.
of thing would make
I
sense.
believe I've heard of an opera version.
Oh,
of
really?
that.
Well, that it would make a fine opera libretto too, wouldn't it?
I am. Is there anything else that you dream of doing or would like to see done?
No, I just feel so grateful. Saturday before last, I had my 76th birthday, And it's astounding to me that I still sing as well as I do, and I have plenty of energy, and I just want to keep doing what I'm doing. I just am so fortunate. God, I don't know what I did right somewhere along the way to still be doing it.
You really are remarkable.
I think it's remarkable too.
You're really at the peak. I mean, it isn't
Well,
like.
I think I'm not at the peak vocally, but I think in my ability to communicate, I know a lot more now than I did 20 years ago about communicating, I think.
Well, you could fool me. That's all I can tell you. Barbara, I'm afraid it's time to wrap up.
Well, thank you, Bill.
It's been a great pleasure and a privilege, and
Thank you.
I thank you so much for coming today, and I thank our studio audience and our home audiences
Thank you.
For joining us today, and we hope to see you soon again
I hope so.
for further conversations.
Good.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.